Narayana Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamutiriye Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhakta Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtike. So continuing with the discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 8, a description of the character of Bharat Maharaj. Text number 17 onwards. Api kshemenasmin ashramo pavane shashpani charantam devaguptam drakshyami. Alas, is it possible that I shall again see this animal protected by the Lord and fearless of tigers and other animals? Shall I see him again wandering in the garden, eating the soft grass and not fearing tigers and other animals? Maharaj greatly desires to see the animal again within his ashram, eating the soft grass and not fearing tigers and other animals. Maharaj Bharat could think only of the deer and how the animal could be protected from all kinds of inauspicious things. From the materialistic point of view, such kind thoughts may be very laudable, but from the spiritual point of view, the king was actually falling from his exalted spiritual position and unnecessarily becoming attached to an animal. Thus, degrading himself, he would have to accept an animal body. So he was completely absorbed in the thoughts of that deer. And that's where he made the mistake. Whether he made the mistake or this is a lesson for us to learn. Text 18. Api chana vrika sala vriko anyatamo ve nekachar ekcharo ve bhakshati. I do not know, but the deer might have been eaten by a wolf or a dog, or by the boars that flock together, or the tiger who travels alone. Tigers never wander in the forest in flocks. Each tiger wanders alone, but forest boars keep together. Similarly, hogs, wolves, and dogs also do the same. Thus, Maharaj Bharat thought that the deer had been killed by some of the many ferocious animals within the forest. Nimlochati ha Bhagavan sakal jagat kshemodya svayatmadyapi mamna mrigava dhunyas agachati. Alas, when the sun rises, all auspicious things begin. Unfortunately, they have not begun for me. The sun god is a Vedas personified, but I am bereft of all Vedic principles. That sun god is now setting, yet the poor animal who trusted in me since its mother died has not returned. See, so much he was worried about and thinking of that deer. In the Brahma Samhita, the sun is described as the eye of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As the sun arises, one should chant the Vedic mantra beginning with the Gayatri. The sun is a symbolic representation of the eye of the Supreme Lord. Maharaj Bharat lamented that although the sun was going to set due to the poor animal's absence, he could not find anything auspicious. Bharat Maharaj considered himself most unfortunate, for due to the animal's absence, there was nothing auspicious for him in the presence of the sun. Bharat Maharaj was worried about this little deer, and like Mataji was discussing yesterday, we get worried about so many things we are attached to. Text 20, translation. That deer is exactly like a prince. When will it return? When will it again display its personal activities, which are so pleasing? When will it again pacify a wounded heart like mine? I certainly must have no pious assets, otherwise the deer would have returned by now. Out of strong affection, the king accepted the small deer as if it were a prince. This is called moha. Due to his anxiety over the deer's absence, the king addressed the animal as though it were his son. Out of affection, anyone can be addressed as anything. Text 21. Translation. Alas, the small deer, while playing with me and seeing me feigning meditation with closed eyes, would circumambulate me due to anger arising from love, and it would fearfully touch me with the points of his soft horns, which felt like drops of water. Now, King Bharat considers his meditation false. While engaged in meditation, he was actually thinking of his deer, and he would feel great pleasure when the animal pricked him with the points of his horns. Feigning meditation, the king would actually think of the animal, and this was but a sign of his downfall. Text 22. When I placed all the sacrificial ingredients on the kusha grass, the deer, when playing, would touch the grass with its teeth and thus pollute it. When I chastised the deer by pushing it away, it would immediately become fearful and sit down motionless, exactly like the son of a saintly person. Thus, it would stop its play. Bharat Maharaj was constantly thinking of the activities of the deer, forgetting that such meditation and diversion of attention was killing his progress in spiritual achievement. Text 23. After speaking like a madman in this way, Maharaj Bharat got up and went outside. Seeing the footprints of the deer on the ground, he praised the footprints out of love, saying, "Oh, unfortunate Bharat, your austerities and penances are very insignificant compared to the penance and austerity undergone by this earth planet. Due to the earth's severe penances, the footprints of this deer, which are small, beautiful, most auspicious, and soft, are imprinted on the surface of this fortunate planet. This series of footprints show a person like me who am bereaved due to loss of the deer, how the animal has passed through the forest, and how I can regain my lost wealth. By these footprints, this land has become a proper place for Brahmins who desire heavenly planets for liberation to execute sacrifices to the demigods. It is said that when a person becomes overly involved in loving affairs, he forgets himself as well as others, and he forgets how to act and how to speak. It is said that once, when a man's son was blind since birth, the father, out of staunch affection for the child, named him Padma Lochan or lotus eyed. This is a situation arising from blind love. Bharat Maharaj gradually fell into this condition due to his material love for the deer. It is said in the Smriti Shastra, Yasmin Deshim Riga Krishnas Tasmin Dharmanna Ivodata. That tract of land wherein the footprints of a black deer can be seen is to be understood as a suitable place to execute religious rituals. So this is what Bharat Maharaj was thinking, seeing the footprints of his deer, how earth, they are so auspicious and this and that. And that's what Shukdev Goswami is saying. After speaking like a madman in this way, he was gone completely crazy. Text 24. Maharaj Bharat continued to speak like a madman. Seeing above his head the dark marks on the rising moon, which resembled a deer, he said, "Can it be that the moon, who is so kind to an unhappy man, might also be kind upon my deer, knowing that it has strayed from home and has become motherless? This moon has given the deer shelter near itself just to protect it from the fearful attacks of a lion." Text 25. After perceiving the moonshine, Maharaj Bharat continued speaking like a crazy person. He said, "The dear son was so submissive and dear to me, and due to its separation, I am feeling separation from my own son. Due to the burning fever of this separation, I am suffering as if inflamed by a forest fire. My heart, which is like the lily of the land, is now burning. Seeing me so distressed, the moon is certainly splashing its shining nectar upon me, just as a friend throws water on another friend who has high fever. In this way, the moon is bringing me happiness. According to Ayurvedic treatment, it is said that if one has a high fever, someone should splash him with water after gargling this water. Okay. In this way, the fever subsides. Although Bharat Maharaj was very aggrieved due to the separation of his so-called son, the deer, he thought that the moon was splashing gargled water on him from its mouth and that this water would subdue his high fever, which was raging due to separation from the deer. I mean, this kind of poetry we hear or we see when a boy and a girl are in love and then they talk about each other, that's all they do. But here Bharat Maharaj was in separation from a deer, from a baby deer. Text 26. Shukdev Goswami continued, my dear king, in this way, Bharat Maharaj was overwhelmed by an uncontrollable desire which was manifest in the form of the deer. Due to the fruitive results of his past deeds, he fell down from his mystic yoga, austerity and worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If it were not due to his past fruitive activity, how could he have been attracted to the deer after giving up the association of his own son and family, considering them stumbling blocks on the path of spiritual life? How could he show such uncontrollable affection for a deer? This was definitely due to his past karma. The king was so engrossed in petting and maintaining the deer that he fell down from his spiritual activities. In due course of time, insurmountable death, which is compared to a venomous snake that enters a hole created by a mouse, situated itself before him. As will be seen in the later verses, Maharaj Bharat at the time of death would be forced to accept the body of a deer due to his attraction for the deer. In this regard, a question may be raised. How can a devotee be affected by his past misconduct and vicious activities? In Brahma Samhita it is said, Karmani nirdahati kintu cha bhakti bhajan. For those engaged in devotional service, bhakti bhajan, the results of past deeds are indemnified. According to this, Bharat Maharaj could not be punished for his past misdeeds. The conclusion must be that Maharaj Bharat purposefully became over addicted to the deer and neglected his spiritual advancement. So he purposefully became over addicted, means it was his fault. So it wasn't his past karma, because karmas are all gone for a devotee like Bharat Maharaj. But because of this one mistake, he got punished. To immediately rectify his mistake, for a short time, he was awarded the body of a deer. This was just to increase his desire for mature devotional service. Although Bharat Maharaj was awarded the body of an animal, he did not forget what had previously happened due to his purposeful mistake. He was very anxious to get out of this deer body, and this indicates that his affection for devotional service was intensified, so much so that he was quickly to attain perfection in a Brahman body in the next life. It is with this conviction that we declare in our Back to Godhead magazine that devotees like the Goswamis living in Vrindavan who purposefully commit some sinful activity are born in the bodies of dogs, monkeys, and tortoises in that holy land. Now we can talk about turtles or this tortoise. Where are they? There are so many turtles in Radha Kund, Shyam Kund, and in different kundas. There's so many of them. In fact, when a few years back, when they cleaned up Radha Kund and Shyam Kund, they had so many turtles in that the contractor had to take them away in a truck. And when the water was filled up again, he brought them back and left them in the kundas, because Nobody would dare just move them away or kill them. But all these turtles are there. And Prabhupada says, because they committed some sinful activity, purposely committed. Thus they take on these lower life forms for a short while. And after they give up those animal bodies, they are again promoted to the spiritual world. Such punishment is only for a short period, and it is not due to past karma. It may appear to be due to past karma, but it is offered to rectify the devotee and bring him to pure devotional service. In fact, even if the Babajis or Goswamis or devotees in Vrindavan, if they have committed some sinful activity and they take the birth of these animals, but still they are so fortunate, even in that body, although they cannot preach like the other devotees can, but they're always rolling in the dust of Vrindavan. And it's a very short life for dogs, monkeys, turtles. It's not a very long life. So it's just to get rectified, whatever, even if whatever they have done. But we are not here to judge. Prabhupada, as an acharya, he can write and he can judge and he can really get onto the case, but we cannot judge. We're not supposed to. Text 27. At the time of death, the king saw that the deer was sitting by his side, exactly like his own son, and he was lamenting his death. Actually, the mind of the king was absorbed in the body of the deer, and consequently, like those bereft of Krishna consciousness, he left the world, the deer, and his material body, and acquired the body of a deer. However, there was one advantage. Although he lost his human body and received the body of a deer, he did not forget the incidents of his past life because he was so advanced. The soul was so advanced. So even though it was the body of the deer, he did not forget. There was a difference between Bharat Maharaj's acquiring a deer body and others acquiring different bodies according to their mental condition at the time of death. After death, others forget everything that has happened in the past lives, but Bharat Maharaj did not forget. According to Bhagavad Gita, whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, that state he will attain without fail. After quitting his body, a person gets another body according to his mental condition at the time of death. At death, a person always thinks of that subject matter in which he has been engrossed during his life. According to this law, because Bharat Maharaj was always thinking of the deer and forgetting his worship of the Supreme Lord, he acquired the body of a deer. However, due to his having been elevated to the topmost platform of devotional service, he did not forget the incidents of his past life. This special benediction saved him from further deterioration. Due to his past activities and devotional service, he became determined to finish his devotional service, even in the body of a deer. It is therefore said in this verse, Mritam, although he had died, Anu, afterwards, na mrita jana janmana anusmritir itarva. He did not forget the incidents of his past life as others forget them. As stated in Brahma Samhita, Karmani Nirdahanti, it is proved herein that due to the grace of the Supreme Lord, the devotee is never vanquished. Due to his willful neglect of devotion service, a devotee may be punished for a short time, but he again revives his devotion service and returns home back to Godhead. So this is what was happening with Bharat Maharaj, that he was again given a chance, and even in the body of a deer, he remembered everything. Text 28. Although in the body of a deer, Bharat Maharaj, due to his rigid devotion service in his past life, could understand the cause of his birth in that body. Considering his past and present life, he constantly repented his activities, speaking in the following way. This is a special concession for a devotee. Even if he attains a body that is non-human by the grace of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he advances further in devotion service, whether by remembering his past life or by natural causes. It is not easy for a common man to remember the activities of his past life. But Bharat Maharaj could remember his past activities due to his great sacrifices and engagement in devotion service. He was really, really advanced soul. And of course, his father, Lord Rishabdev himself, appointed him as a king of the whole world, understanding his position. And later on, also, he performed so many austerities. It's a very, very advanced soul. Text 29. In the body of a deer, Bharat Maharaj began to lament, "What misfortune! I have fallen from the path of the self-realized. I gave up my real son's wife and home to advance in spiritual life, and I took shelter in a solitary holy place in the forest. I became self-controlled and self-realized, and I engaged constantly in devotional service, hearing, thinking, chanting, worshipping, and remembering the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudeva. I was successful in my attempt, so much so that my mind was always absorbed in devotional service. However, due to my personal foolishness, my mind again became attached, this time to a deer. Now I have obtained the body of a deer and have fallen far from my devotional practices. Due to his stringent execution of devotional service, Maharaj Bharat could remember the activities of his past life and how he was raised to the spiritual platform. Due to his foolishness, he became attached to an insignificant deer and thus fell down and had to accept the body of a deer. This is significant for every devotee. Now, Prabhupada is coming to the point. If we misuse our position and think that we are fully engaged in devotion service and can do whatever we like, we have to suffer like Bharat Maharaj. And we condemn to accept the type of body that impairs our devotion service. Only the human form is able to execute devotion service. But if we voluntarily give this up for sense gratification, we certainly have to be punished. This punishment is not exactly like that endured by an ordinary materialistic person. By the grace of the Supreme Lord, a devotee is punished in such a way that his eagerness to attain the lotus feet of Lord Vasudeva is increased. So this is a special punishment or special arrangement by the Supreme Lord for a devotee. By his intense desire, he returns home in the next lifetime. Devotion service is very completely described here. The constant hearing and chanting of the glories of the Lord is recommended in Bhagavad Gita. Those who have taken to Krishna consciousness should be very careful that not a single moment is wasted and that not a single moment is spent without chanting and remembering the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his activities. By his own actions and by the actions of his devotees, Krishna teaches us how to become cautious in devotion service. Through the medium of Bharat Maharaj, Krishna teaches us that we must be careful in the discharge of devotion service. So it could be that Krishna arranged everything, all this pastime. Because Krishna wants to set an example through his devotee. And that's what he does very nicely. Through his devotee, he puts his devotee in such a position. Like Arjun, Parikshit Maharaj, Bhishma Dev, Lord Shiva. He just teaches us through them. If we want to keep our minds completely fixed without deviation, we must engage them in devotion service full time. As far as the members of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness are concerned, they have sacrificed everything to push on this Krishna consciousness movement. Yet they must take a lesson from the life of Bharat Maharaj to be very cautious and to see that not a single moment is wasted in frivolous talk, sleep, or voracious eating. Not a single moment is wasted in frivolous talk, sleep, or voracious eating. I don't know about moments. We waste hours and days and weeks and months and years in all this. Eating is not prohibited, but if we eat voraciously, or we shall certainly sleep more than required. Sense gratification ensues, and we may be degraded to a lower life form. In that way, our spiritual progress may be checked, at least for the time being. The best course is to take the advice of Srila Rupa Goswami, avyartha kalatvam. We should see that every moment of our lives is utilized for the rendering of devotion service and nothing else. This is a secure position for one wanting to return home back to God. So we have to utilize all our time in the service of the Lord. Text 30. Although Bharat Maharaj received the body of a deer, by constant repentance he became completely detached from all material things. He did not disclose these things to anyone, but he left his mother deer in a place known as Kalanjar mountain where he was born. He again went to the forest of Shaligram and to the ashram of Pulastya and Pulaha. It is significant that Maharaj Bharat, by the grace of Vasudeva, remembered his past life. He did not waste his moment. He returned to Pulaha ashram to the village known as Shaligram. Association is very meaningful. If ISKCON tries to perfect one who enters the society, the members of this society should always remember that the society is not like a free hotel. All the members should be very careful to execute their spiritual duties so that whoever comes will automatically become a devotee and will be able to return back to Godhead in this very life. Although Bharat Maharaj acquired the body of a deer, he again left his hearth and home, in this case the mountain Kalanjar. No one should be captivated by his birthplace and family. One should take shelter of the association of devotees and cultivate Krishna consciousness. So he left his birthplace and again came back to the same place where Bharat Maharaj was earlier living and performing his austerities. Text 31. Remaining in that ashram, the great king Maharaj Bharat was now very careful not to fall victim to bad association. Without disclosing his past to anyone, he remained in that ashram and ate dry leaves only. He was not exactly alone, for he had the association of the super soul. In this way, he waited for death in the body of a deer. Bathing in that holy place, he finally gave up that body. Holy places like Vrindavan, Haridwar, Prayag, and Jagannath Puri are especially meant for the execution of devotional service. Vrindavan specifically is the most exalted and preferred holy place for Vaishnava devotees of Lord Krishna who are aspiring to return back home, back to Godhead, to Vaikuntha planets. There are many devotees in Vrindavan who regularly bathe in the Yamuna, and this cleanses all the contaminations of the material world. By constantly chanting and hearing the holy names and pastimes of the Supreme Lord, one certainly becomes purified and becomes a fit candidate for liberation. However, if one purposefully falls victim to sense gratification, he has to be punished, at least for one lifetime, like Bharat Maharaj. So, yes, Prabhupada is very heavy and is cautioning us from what not to do and what to do. And we should get more and more serious and sincere in our devotion service. So, and Prabhupada says holy places like Vrindavan, Haridwar, Prayag, Jagannath. Yes, they're wonderful, wonderful places. But again, Krishna also says, or scripture says, wherever my devotees are chanting my name and my service is being done, I live in that place. So we can make our home as Vrindavan or Jagannath Puri. And whenever we get chance, we should go and visit these holy places and then come back, get our batteries charged, come back, do our services and preach. And by preaching, we get the regular association of Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu, association of Acharyas, association of Srila Prabhupada, association of Prabhupada's books, holy name. We get all these associations and association of devotees. So more and more time we just have to spend in these services. And then the progress is guaranteed. So here we end the 8th chapter today, and tomorrow we can start the 9th chapter, the supreme character of Jad Bharat. That's beautiful chapters coming up now. So anyway, we'll stop here. See anybody has any questions or comments? So there are 5 chapters dedicated to Jad Bharat. So important.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, when we talk about Bharat Maharaj, he was the brother of Lord Ram.
No, not this one.
Okay. So
Not
who
this
was
one. This is son of Lord Rishabdev.
okay?
Yeah, this is different. Okay, so I guess we can stop here. You all have a wonderful and safe day. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji. Jai Shri Prabhupada.